Hello there, welcome to another video on investing on the stock market. If you have any questions, drop me a comment and I'll try my best to answer. So today I'm talking about one of my favorite industries to invest in, aerospace and defense. And when we're talking about aerospace and defense, I'm very optimistic. I think so much commercial travel, warfare and space travel and just innovation in general is going to happen in the skies because it's one of the best ways to get around this planet. And when we're talking about aerospace stocks specifically, we're talking about two companies. They pretty much have a duopoly, those two combined. So we have Boeing versus Airbus, US versus France, $94 billion in revenue versus $77 billion. And yeah, let's see which company comes out on top. So these two companies are obviously battling for a massive market. $840 billion in annual revenue, growing at about 7% every year. So the demand for air travel, so the amount of people want to fly and the volume of air traffic grows about 7% every year. People are flying more and more people are flying. There's a massive potential in Asia, emerging Asia, so China, India, Indonesia, Philippines and so on. There are billions of people still not flying and they need some airplanes to fly in, and there's pretty much only two companies. So I think this is a great market to be in. Now let's first take a look at the revenue makeup of the companies. So how much do they make from commercial airlines, military, helicopters, space and so on. At Boeing we have about 68% commercial, 14% military and then 18% space and services. So those are add-on services with the airplanes and then actual space projects. Boeing actually wants to make a rocket. They can send people to and from Mars, so they're exploring ways of commercializing space travel as well. Now for Airbus it's about 70% commercial, 20% military and 10% helicopters. I like to see helicopters in there. They're very valuable, both commercial and military. They're great platforms to do civil stuff and not just military things such as an airplane, right? There are a lot of things you can't do with an airplane because they fly so bloody fast and so high up in the sky. It's pretty much just for transporting stuff and in military action. But helicopters can be used to stop and get people and drop things and such. So helicopters is a great industry as well. Now, their main business is obviously commercial airlines. Boeing 68%, Airbus 70%. So there are basically two types of commercial airplanes. There's single aisle, which are the narrow bodies one, and then it's the wide body ones. So when it comes to single aisle, Boeing has about 43% market share, Airbus has 45%. When it comes to the wide bodies, Boeing has 59 and Airbus has 41. So Boeing is really crushing it there. Airbus slightly more on the single aisle ones. And when it comes to planes, we have to separate between how many orders the company receives and how many planes they actually send out. So in terms of orders, in the fiscal year of 2017, Boeing had about 912 while Airbus had 1,109. But the important thing to note is that Boeing delivered 763 planes while Airbus only delivered 718. So Boeing gets less orders but actually delivers more plane, which is basically the only thing that matters. I mean, Airbus has too many orders, they can't fill them, which is a luxury problem, but Boeing has the same luxury problem, but they're actually fulfilling more of their orders, thus their $93 billion revenue compared to 77 from Airbus. So we can start to see why Boeing is pulling ahead in terms of revenue. Now, how much money are these companies actually making on these planes and how well run are these two businesses? So when it comes to net margin, so how much the company is actually left with after all expenses, Boeing is sitting at 10%, Airbus only at 4.2%. So definitely not the most efficient company when it comes to margins. When it comes to free cash flow, this is a very cash intensive business Boeing has $12.4 billion left over in cash, in free cash flow, while Airbus has negative 300 million. So there's a massive disparity between these two companies, both when it comes to net margin and free cash flow, while the revenue is similar. So that makes me think that Boeing is simply a way better run company than Airbus. It must be. They're in the same industry, selling the same planes to some of the same customers, yet there's this big difference in numbers and profitability. Now, revenue growth, which is important, how fast is the company growing its revenue? So over the last 5 years, Boeing has grown 18%, Airbus has grown 16%. So good on Airbus, but Boeing's still edging out. And when you're thinking, okay, Airbus, maybe not the greatest company, struggling a little bit, with actually making money and being profitable. Boeing is this perfect big company. You would think when it comes to PE ratio and the valuation of the stocks, maybe Airbus is a little bit beaten down and is a cheap stock. Nope. Boeing is trading at about 22 PE, Airbus at 45. So it's actually a more expensive stock as well. The Airbus stock has performed great as of late, but so has Boeing. So I think everyone should be invested in aerospace and defense, be it Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, you name it. But of these two companies, there is no competition. They're competing on planes, but when it comes to as an investment and as a company and as a bet going into the future, it's all Boeing for me. I'm definitely investing in Boeing at some point. It's the number one company I'm looking at the moment. So hope this helps. What's your thoughts on these two companies? Are you invested in any of them? Are you looking at any other aerospace up and coming company? As always, I'll see you in my next